So load is intensity by time, so someone was pretty good on that. And there's various ways that we can actually look at this. What you want to have is an internal measure, so that's a measure relating to that person. So you can use things like heart rate and RPE that someone mentioned. I'll go into RPE a bit more. They're probably the easiest one for us to get. There's plenty of other things you can do, blood lactate levels, but we don't have the equipment, and that's time consuming to do. But nowadays, most people have Fitbits or they have Garmin's. So heart rate can normally be something that you can easily do. It tends to be better for kind of longer duration activities, so more your endurance, but not quite so good at your higher intensity. Whereas RPE, which don't panic, we will go into it, is much better at kind of doing those higher intensity. You can do it anywhere, it doesn't involve any sort of equipment, and it's easy for athletes to do. So that tends to be the thing that we see used most frequently. So RPE, originally it was done on a scale of 6 to 20, which is a bit confusing for everyone, but most of the modified versions are 0 to 10, and that's the ones you'll see most used in all sports. So basically, 0 is at rest, and then you're going through very, very easy, moderate, somewhat hard, and then to maximal. So it's very dependent on that individual, so the athlete themselves, because someone might rate it something at a 6, someone might say a 7, someone might say a 5. But the important thing is you want to know how that athlete has coped with that training session. So you just get them to score between 0 and 10 of how hard they felt that session was. And then you need to times that by something to do with that training. So it might be time, it might be distance. If you were climbing steps, it might be how many steps they climbed. It just needs to be a figure that relates to the amount of kind of exercise that they've actually done. And then it's measured in AU. It doesn't really mean a lot. It's called arbitrary unit because obviously it depends on what figures that you're using. So for an example, if you're trying to work it out and they're doing a 90-minute session at T2, a T2 session is generally around about a 5, then you're looking at 90 times 5, so that would be 450 AU, so load units. We've put together, this is done with one of the sports scientists that I know that works in rowing, to give you an idea of what sort of training sessions might equate to something on the RPE scale. Hopefully you can see it okay. So a 0, like we said, is just rest, so they're not doing anything. A 1, because it's really easy, you're probably looking at some sort of recovery session. We'll move down a bit. So a 4, so that's sort of hard. You might be looking at a T1 training session or, T1 ride on a bike. So I'm assuming everyone's happy with T1s and 2s, so your training zones. 7, really hard, so you're looking at sort of threshold around a T4. And then a 10, you're really going to be maximal. So that's when you're racing or doing 100% interval training. The reason we put this up, it gives you a bit of a guide. So, if you've given someone a T1 ride and they come in and say, oh, that was a 10 on the RPE scale, you might think, oh, hang on, something doesn't add up here. Either they don't understand the RPE scale or something else is going on with this athlete.
At Decent Rowing, our goal is to get world-class rowing information into the hands of everyone. One of the easiest ways to do that is through our email list. We send out tips and tricks on rowing on a regular basis. If you want, you can sign up. As a sign-up bonus, you get 21 of our best rowing videos, including beginner and advanced rowing videos. We've also chucked in a couple of basic training programs and a training piece. So if you want to sign up, you can see what it's all about.